Hi boys and girls, so what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be creating an artwork using paint to start with, and we're going to be making kind of a wintry night sky. So what I want to talk about first is something called tint, and we can see examples of some different tints in this space right here, and I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit so that you can see it, okay? So let me talk about what a tint is. A tint is a color mixed with white. So our example today is we have blue mixed with white, and we start with white, but then we start to mix blue and white together in different tints. So an example of that would be red mixed with white looks like what? Does anybody know what color that is? Do you know what that is? It's going to be pink. And pink is an example of a tint, okay? So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna do the painting part of this. And we are gonna take white and we're gonna mix it with blue to create our night sky today. And later we're gonna go back with markers and we're gonna draw the trees or the limbs of the trees a little bit later. Also, I'm gonna kind of hold this close so that you can see. We're gonna splatter paint a little bit today with the white to create a snowy sky. And that's lots of fun, but there are some rules that go along with it. So I'm gonna kind of share with you what my expectations are today, okay? Okay, so today we have our color, which is blue, and then white, which we're gonna use to create different tints of blue. So it's gonna be like white, but then we're gonna have lighter blues. Also, I've got some water and a paintbrush and a pencil, and you're gonna get a blue sheet of paper. So I'm gonna set these aside for just a second. The very first thing that I need to do is before I even start my painting, I'm gonna write my name and my class code on the back, whatever your class code is, okay? And you're gonna put a circle around it, and then you're gonna flip it over, and on this side, we're gonna start our painting. Now, the first thing that we're gonna need to do is we're gonna create a full moon in the sky, and we wanna create it not at the very edge because we're gonna need some light shining around it. So I'm gonna make it kind of in the right corner, but I'm gonna scoot down a little bit more toward the middle of the paper. So right here, if this is my corner, I'm gonna start with white and I'm gonna make a small circle for the full moon, okay? And I'm gonna fill that in really good and solid all the way and make a nice full moon in the sky. And I don't wanna make it too big, maybe about the size of my thumb, maybe a little bit bigger, but about that size. Now, without washing my paintbrush, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna create a tint. And what I'm gonna do is in this space in the middle, this is where I'm gonna mix my tint. So I'm gonna take a little white and I'm gonna drag it over here. And then I'm gonna add some blue to it. And I just want a tiny bit of blue on my paintbrush. And I don't need to wash my paintbrush because I want a little white in there. And I'm gonna mix it together until I have kind of a light blue shade. And I think I'm gonna add a little bit more white. We want it to be a really, really light blue shade to start with, kind of like this, kind of like a really baby blue or a sky blue. And once I've got that on my paintbrush, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this glow all the way around my moon in a circle, okay? And if it goes out a little bit, that's okay. Then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna make another tint, but it's gonna be a little bit darker. So this time I'm gonna add a little bit more blue to it. And I'm gonna mix it up. It's a little bit darker than the one before, but not a lot, okay? And then I'm gonna take that new color and I'm gonna make a glow all the way around, okay? Like that, in a big circle, okay? So I've got the white, and then I've got a really light tint, and then a little bit darker tint, and I'm gonna do one that's just a little bit darker. And I'm gonna mix that up, maybe a couple of dollops here, okay? It's still pretty light, but almost to our blue now, right? And I've mixed that up really good, and I've loaded up my paintbrush, and I'm gonna make one more circle on the outside edge, okay? All the way around, okay? Kind of like the glow of our moon. The last thing that I'm gonna do, I don't want any white on my paintbrush now. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dip it in my water, and I'm not gonna tap it because I don't wanna make a mess. We are gonna actually tap it later. And then I'm gonna get all that water and I'm just gonna kind of wipe it off and see how it kind of drips in there. I'm gonna wipe it off, and if there's a little paint on it, that's okay, but I'm gonna wipe it really good. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get blue. So I'm gonna load up the blue. If you got a little bit of white in the corner, try not to get the white. We want just blue on this one. And now what we're gonna do in the rest of the space is we're just gonna paint all the rest of the space all the way off the edges of our paper. And if you get a little bit of paint on the table, that's okay. We don't wanna paint the table, but a little bit is okay because we can clean that up. That's part of art and we have to get all of our edges. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna paint all of this space. I'm gonna get all that blue. I'm gonna paint in. And I don't wanna get messy, and I'm still gonna kind of go around in this space here to make it look like it's still glowing, so I don't accidentally go over that spot. I'm gonna paint all of this in nice and solid. And if a little bit of your paper peeks through, that's okay. Okay. And I'm gonna finish this up here all the way around. Make sure to get all the edges until we've completely covered our paper. I know our paper is blue, but we want it to be mostly the paint. We don't want too much of the paper peeking through. So make sure you get all your corners and all your edges, okay? All right, got that all filled in now. Now the next part is, now I'm gonna take my paintbrush and one last time, I'm gonna wash it off in the little cup over here, and I'm gonna kind of wipe it off. I don't want to tap it because then it'll get on my paper or on me or on my neighbor's paper, and that's no fun. So I'm just gonna wipe it, okay? Whoop, I spilled a little bit, be careful. Now this is the fun part, okay? What you're gonna do next is you're gonna dip your paintbrush back in just the white space. Make sure you get all the water off of it. I'm gonna take it, a lot of it on the white. Okay, I've kind of got it all loaded up. And then I'm gonna tap it on the side a little bit so it's just kind of hanging out in the middle of my brush and not on the ends. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna splatter paint. Now before you start, we don't wanna get it all over our clothes or all over each other. So this is very important, and you have to follow these rules, because if you don't, then you don't get to splatter paint. You don't get snow in your sky. So please make sure you follow the rules. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take your finger and you're gonna rub it along the brush, but we don't want our brush up high. We wanna put our brush really low and close to our paper, and I'm not gonna go crazy with it. I'm just gonna splatter just a little bit. Now, if you go too crazy, do you see how I got that line there? That's okay if that happens, but we really want it just to be like dots. So I'm gonna get really close to my paper and I'm just rubbing it along my finger. And if you need a little bit more paint, that's okay. But I'm just getting it all over my paper, okay? And I know you may not be able to see this, but I'm really close to my paper as I'm doing this, okay? And I'm gonna keep on doing it until I've covered my paper with snow. Now, we don't want it to be so snowy that we can't see our tints and shades. So we probably should not be able to see snow unless we look kind of close, okay? And it'll just be like little speckles on our paper. And I'm just rubbing this along my finger like this, and it kind of flicks onto my paper. But we don't want long streaks, and I want to show you what I did here. Kind of got long streaks, and that's not exactly what snow looks like. We want it to be more like this, where it's just little speckles of snow, okay? If you get this on your paper, it's okay, but that's not what it's all about. It's about little speckles and dots of snow on our paper. Okay, when you're done, this is what you're gonna do. You need to wash off your finger and your paintbrush. You're not gonna put your finger or your paintbrush on anybody or on yourself. You're gonna walk over to the sink and you're gonna wash off your paintbrush and your finger. You're gonna put your paintbrush, when it's clean, sticking straight up with its hair up so that it can dry off. And then you're gonna come back for your paper and you're gonna carry your paper carefully over to the drying rack. Make sure you put it in the right spot, okay? This is all we're gonna do for today, and then the next time we're gonna work on those limbs of our trees, but we'll do that next time, okay? So we're just working on our night sky today, all right? Good job, guys.